What a man can be, he must be. This need we call self-actualization. Abraham Maslow. You've been told to dream big, to visualize your goals, to chase greatness with everything you have. But what happens when the fire inside you goes cold? When you wake up and the weight of the day crushes your chest before your feet hit the floor? You start asking yourself, what's the point? This isn't laziness. This isn't weakness. It's something deeper, something foundational. And Abraham Maslow knew it. Before you can rise, you need ground to stand on. Before purpose, you need survival. Before self-actualization, you need the basics. Because if your foundation is crumbling, if your basic human needs aren't being met, then no motivational speech, no vision board, no life coach is going to save you. You will keep falling. Again and again. You're not broken. You're starving. Not just for food or shelter, but for meaning, for connection, for safety, for certainty. And here's the truth. Most people are trying to build skyscrapers on sand. They want to be more, do more, achieve more. But they ignore the fact that they're emotionally malnourished. They're mentally fatigued, spiritually dehydrated. Maslow laid it out. There are levels to becoming whole, levels to reclaiming your drive. And if you skip one, the structure collapses. So let's be honest. Are you meeting your real needs, or just numbing the pain? Have you been chasing goals that aren't even yours? Working jobs you hate? Living for the approval of people who don't even care? Maybe that's why you feel lost. Not because you've failed, but because you've never truly begun. Look around you. Most people are pretending to be fine, pretending to have it all together. But inside, they're empty, and emptiness breeds apathy. Apathy kills motivation, and without motivation, there is no action, no momentum, no change. But here's where it starts to shift. When you go back, not to escape, but to rebuild, to examine the foundation of your life, to ask the uncomfortable questions, to face the fears you've buried under distractions. Do you feel safe, physically, emotionally, financially? Do you feel seen? By yourself? By others? Do you feel like your life even belongs to you? Because that's the root, and roots matter more than branches. Without roots, no tree stands. Without a strong base, no pyramid rises. Without meeting your core needs, you will never reach your potential. Maslow wasn't preaching self-help. He was revealing survival, real human fulfillment. Not hype, not hustle, but wholeness. And it starts with a brutal kind of honesty. The kind that forces you to stop lying to yourself, to admit what's really not working, to let go of the false image you've built. This is not easy. It will demand something real from you. But it's also where freedom lives. And maybe you need to hear this. It's not too late. Not if you're still breathing. Not if the ache inside you hasn't fully gone numb. You can change. You can rebuild. But not by skipping steps. And not by pretending everything's fine. Right now, pause for a second. Feel what's rising in your chest. That discomfort. That truth trying to surface. Let it. Don't run. Because that's the signal. That's your soul telling you. It's time. Time to face what you've avoided. Time to stop patching the cracks and start fixing the foundation. You might be thinking, where do I even start? And that's the right question. Because the beginning is not an achievement. It's an understanding. Start with this. What is the one thing you truly need right now? Not want, not desire. Need. If everything else fell apart, what would keep you standing? For many, it's safety. Not just a locked door or a full fridge, but the inner safety to exist, to feel, to fail without judgment, to speak without fear, to be. But safety is rare, especially in a world that teaches you to hide, to mask your pain, to stay quiet, to blend in. You were not designed to live in survival mode. That's not life, that's slow death. And yet so many are stuck there, caught in the cycle of just getting through the day, of hoping the weekend will bring relief, of praying that someday, somehow, things will feel different. But Maslow saw it. He knew that people will never reach their higher self until their core needs are honored. Think of the pyramid. At the bottom, physiological needs: food, water, sleep. Have you been ignoring these? Sacrificing sleep to chase deadlines? Eating junk because there's no time? Running on caffeine and burnout? You cannot build a masterpiece on a cracked foundation, and yet, most of us try. Above that, safety. Do you feel stable? Do you know where you're going to be next month? Are your finances a mess? Are your relationships draining you? It's not weakness to admit instability. It's wisdom. Because you cannot build courage without first building ground beneath your feet. And here's the hardest part: belonging. Yes. The one thing you pretend doesn't matter. I don't care what people think. But deep down, you do. And you always will. Because belonging is wired into your brain. It's not weakness. It's humanity. Maslow understood that isolation starves the soul. You can have money. You can have safety. But if you have no one to share it with, it begins to rot. You were made to be known, to be loved, to be mirrored in someone else's eyes. But here's the paradox. You can't truly belong to others until you belong to yourself. How many masks have you worn just to be accepted? How many times have you silenced your voice just to be liked? That's not belonging. That's abandonment of yourself. And maybe that's why you feel numb. Because you've betrayed your own soul for far too long. And now, it's hard to even hear it whisper. But it's still there. Beneath the noise, the fear, the coping. It's still there. Right now, I want you to pause, breathe in, and ask, what part of me have I buried to survive? What truth have you silenced? What emotion have you pushed down? What dream have you called unrealistic just to fit in? Be honest. This is where healing begins, not in pretending to be strong, but in acknowledging where you feel small, where you feel forgotten, where you feel hollow. Look, it's easy to scroll past this, to nod along and then go back to your routine. But if something inside you is stirring, if your chest feels heavy, then don't ignore it. That is not pain to avoid. That's a signal, a call. Your soul is knocking, asking to come home. And maybe you've been told that's weakness. That vulnerability is dangerous. That introspection is indulgence. But the truth is, avoidance is what's killing you. Not your emotions, not your fears, not your confusion. It's the silence, the suppression, the pretending. You cannot fix what you refuse to feel. You cannot grow what you do not water. You cannot change what you're too afraid to face. But here's the hope. It's never too late. Not to begin again. Not to come back to yourself. If this is hitting something inside you, speak on it. Tell me in the comments, what part of Maslow's pyramid have you been ignoring in your own life? Let's be real. Let's be raw. Let's stop hiding. Your healing might start with a sentence, a confession, an admission of truth. And if you've ever felt like motivation abandoned you, maybe it's because you've been starving for something deeper. You don't need more pressure. You need more permission. To feel, to reset, to rebuild. And that starts now. There's a voice in your head. You know the one. It whispers late at night when everything is quiet. It doesn't shout. It questions. It wonders. It aches. Why are you still here? Why haven't you changed? Why do you feel so far from the life you once imagined? And sometimes, it doesn't sound like a question. Sometimes it sounds like shame. You should be further ahead. You should be stronger. You should be past this by now. But that voice isn't your enemy. It's your alarm. The echo of your unmet self. The version of you that's still buried beneath layers of fear, habits, and distractions. Maslow didn't speak in motivational quotes. He spoke of structure, of sequence, of truth. That the path to actualization is not through constant hustle. It's through honoring the hierarchy of your needs, step by step, truth by truth. And if you're listening to this now, there's a reason. Something inside you is tired of pretending, tired of performing, tired of chasing a life that doesn't feed you. Let's talk about esteem. Not the surface kind, not followers, not applause, not admiration, but self-respect. The kind you build brick by brick. The kind that only comes when you live in alignment, when your actions match your values, when you look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. That's rare. Because most people have never been taught how to build esteem. They were taught how to compare, how to impress, how to achieve, but never how to return to themselves. What if I told you that the path forward isn't more doing, it's deeper being? To sit with yourself and ask, who am I when no one's watching? What do I believe when the noise fades? What would I pursue if I wasn't afraid of judgment? These aren't easy questions, but they're necessary. Because self-actualization isn't reserved for the elite. It's not a luxury. It's a calling, a hunger, a necessity for the soul. And maybe you've been starving for yourself, for your truth, for your mission. Not the one society handed you, not the one others expect, but the one that lives deep in your bones, the one you dream about when you're not distracted. But here's the painful part. To become that person, you must let go of who you've been pretending to be. You must face your patterns, your comforts, your avoidance, and that's terrifying. Because identity is sticky. It clings. Even when it's false, even when it hurts. The ego would rather keep you safe and miserable than risk your rebirth. But growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from confrontation. With your past. With your pain. With your potential. And this is your invitation. To stop shrinking. To stop settling. To stop making yourself small in a world that needs your fullness. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin. Take one step. Say one truth. Do one thing today that aligns with who you really are. And if your mind screams, it's not enough, that's okay. Let it scream. You keep moving. Because every act of truth is an act of power, and that power compounds, it builds, it grows. Until one day, you wake up and realize you're not faking anymore. You're living, breathing, aligned, free. And maybe, just maybe, someone else sees you and realizes they can do the same. That's how the world changes. Not through noise, but through truth. Lived boldly, consistently, quietly, until it's undeniable. So tell me, what truth are you ready to reclaim? Write it in the comments. Let's fill this space with courage, with healing, with the beginning of real transformation. If you're still here reading this message is for you. You're not broken. You're unfinished. And that's not a weakness. It's an opportunity. You were made to become. Don't let fear freeze you in place. Let it point you to where the real work begins. There's something sacred about starting over. It's not weakness. It's wisdom. To pause. To feel. To rebuild from the root. Not from what's expected of you, but from what's true within you. Most people live their entire lives on autopilot, chasing status, chasing noise, chasing anything that silences the silence. But silence is where you hear your soul, and the soul doesn't scream. It whispers. In the early mornings, in the restless nights, in the spaces where your distractions fail. And when it speaks, it asks a single question. Will you listen? Not to the world, to yourself. Because the first step to motivation isn't pushing harder. It's hearing what you've been pushing down. You don't need more rules. You need more space. To breathe, to feel, to be honest. Maslow knew this. He saw that before you can actualize, you must stabilize. Before you can build up, you must build deep. So stop pretending you're fine. Stop lying to yourself. Your exhaustion isn't laziness. Your confusion isn't failure. It's the call, the invitation, to return to what matters, to rebuild your life from the inside out, to say yes to what you've long denied, to reclaim your right to peace. Because until your inner world is safe, no outer world will feel satisfying. Until your basic needs are met, your dreams will feel like burdens. You were never meant to carry so much alone. You were never meant to outrun your pain. You were meant to feel, to heal, to rise from a foundation that holds you. So take this seriously. This isn't just another video. This is your mirror, your wake-up call, the permission you've been waiting for. You don't need to impress anyone here. You need to return to yourself and rebuild what matters. Your hunger for purpose is holy, but purpose only grows in honest ground. Start with your needs. Start with truth. Start where you are. And if you made it this far, you're already doing it. You're showing up. And that means you're not lost. You're waking up. So don't let this just be background noise. Breathe it in. Write it down. Let it move you. Let it break what no longer serves. And tell me what this stirred in you. I read every comment. I want to hear your truth. This isn't just about a theory. It's about your life. Because when one person wakes up, they remind others it's possible. That's how the world changes. One honest moment at a time. So subscribe if this reached you. If you felt seen. If something shifted. We're building something here. A space for truth. For growth. For real transformation. You're not too late. You're not too broken. You're not too lost. You're exactly where you need to be. And it begins right now.